L110. This is Ensign Alex Wong, and I'm here with Captain Mullaney. We're here to talk today about the attachment theory. So, Captain, why do we talk about attachment theory in plebe leadership?
Well, we start out with the concept of leadership, and we say that leadership is when you get things done with other people. And so leadership, first and foremost, is about having relationships, and attachment theory is a way that helps us understand relationships. In addition to that, we've been talking about, what drives human behavior. So we started off talking about system one, and we realized that a lot of human behavior is not conscious. It's being driven by our pre-conscious processes. And we talked about perception and bias. And we thought about the ways in which schemas and mental models have a role in driving the way that we perceive and understand and respond to the world. So what's interesting about attachment theory is that it provides a theory of where do our schemas and mental models about relationships come from. And it gives a pretty good explanation of that, and helps us understand what might be going on in our system one that we don't really necessarily have a great understanding of otherwise.
So the basic understanding of attachment, the logic of attachment, would be the security that you feel in relationships.
Yeah, that's right. So the basic idea of attachment theory is that our sense of security is deeply connected with the quality of our relationships. And this kind of makes sense if you think about an infant, right? So if you have an infant, there's no way that an infant's going to survive in the world unless a stronger, smarter human takes care of it, right? And so in a profound sense for an infant, their security is fundamentally predicated on the quality of their relationships with their attachment figures. Yeah, so that's the basic connection between attachment and security.
So what if an infant's attachment needs are not met, in their developmental stages?
Yeah, so what attachment theory argues is that humans have developed over time kind of an attachment behavioral system, or a way of responding to the world in order to try to meet those attachment needs. And so if you have an infant who if they're with an adult that can take care of them, then they feel like their attachment needs are met. And what you see is they'll actually engage with the world. They're more playful. They'll explore the world as long as they feel safe. They don't have to spend their attention on trying to be safe. Instead, they can spend their attention on trying to just engage with the world. But if those attachment needs are not met, so if that stronger human attachment figure is not present and available to them, then what they'll most likely do is they'll try to get the attention of that attachment figure. So the attachment behavioral system is pretty simple. It's just, if the child feels like they're not secure because that attachment figure is not present, then they'll try to do something to bring that attachment figure's attention back to them. So if you think about a child, you walk out of the room, the child starts crying, right? That's a very basic attachment behavior. They're trying to get your attention. They're saying, I don't feel safe, pay attention to me. That's why they're crying. So all the behaviors that infants have to try to regain our attention, those would be, we would think of those as attachment behaviors.
It would be safe to say that this is a schema in your system one. It's like a subconscious need for a figure, securing a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not system two. When you think about infants, they really don't even have a system two yet. It's probably not 2 or 3 or 4 years old. If you think about your first memories, that's probably when your system two started kicking online, right? And so these attachment behaviors that the infants are doing are very much a system one behavior. And when you talk about schemas and mental models, right? So the thing to think about is it's really easy to understand an attachment behavioral system in as much as, if the attachment figure is not there, I don't feel secure, I start crying, and either they come back or not. And what's interesting is not any single experience that the child has, but instead the combination of all the experiences that the child has. And so what happens, if the child consistently feel secure, and every time they cry and look for the attention of the attachment figure comes back and makes them feel secure again, then they're actually building mental models about how the world works. So they're learning that the world is fundamentally a safe place. They're learning that if I need other people, they're going to be there for me. They're learning that, and this is probably the most subtle piece, they're learning that other people pay attention to me. They're learning that I am worthy, I am loved, and I'm worthy of being loved. And those are definitely deep system one thing. So we don't walk around thinking I'm quite a lovable person, right? But that's what we're learning through those experiences. And so what's really profound is think about, what do I learn about the world if those attachment needs are not met, right? So the attachment figures consistently are not there for me. So I learn that the world is a dangerous and uncertain place. I learned that when I need other people, they might not be there for me in the way that makes me comfortable. And once again, the really subtle message that I might be learning through all those experiences is that I'm not loved. And even deeper than that, I might be learning that I don't believe that I deserve to be loved. You know, that's one of the explanations.
So do these mental models, stick through with us during our entire lives?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we learn in perception and bias, right? When we learn about schemas, what we learn there is that these schemas are the things through which we interpret the world, right? And because in many ways these attachment experiences come first, right? These are kind of our baseline beliefs about the way a relationship's going to be. And so we might have attachment disruptions as a child, and we might form mental models that the world's unsafe, other people are untrustworthy, and I'm not lovable, right? Those are kind of the worst case scenarios. And we might have experiences after that disrupt that. We might end up in a place that makes us feel safe. We might end up in relationships with very trustworthy people who make us feel loved, right? So in some ways, those are going to be competing mental models that we have, but probably in our mind, they're probably going to be deviations from that baseline. So we kind of have the baseline of our initial attachment, and then we learn deviations to that. So every new relationship that we enter into and we have to try to make sense of, we're going to use all the information available most likely. So that baseline is always going to be a competing mental model for how we might interpret the world. So it can be overwritten by positive experiences, and even more importantly, it can be overwritten by specific experiences, right? So I can enter into a relationship with somebody and learn to trust them deeply and realize that they are always there for me when I need them, and so I form a schema of that person as fundamentally trustworthy, and that person as someone who can love me, but I still might have a general distrust of people in general, right?
All right. Well, thank you, Captain Mulaney, for your time, and join us on our next episode.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex.